Good morning, everybody. In Lord of the Rings Online, there is a brand new class coming out to the video game called the Brawler. And the Brawler is, well, why would I talk when I could just show you what the Brawler is like? You see, the Brawler is a physical fighter, punches with his fists, but not like a monk. This character is very not monk-like. It has some sort of combos. Basically, you have these setup moves and these cash out, but it's very, very simplistic. A monk, you might imagine there's lots of different combos, button presses, make it more Street Fighter-like. But this game already has that. Warden is a class that has different types of combos that you kind of string together to make different moves, and doing that again wouldn't really make a lot of sense. This character plays a lot more like a champion. You have a fervor bar called Metal, that is this like secondary resource that you build up by using your attacks, and then you have two different types of moves. You have the setups. Setups are fast, simple punches that just add something to your next attack. And then you have the spenders, your heavy attacks, your balance attacks, and your quick attacks that can both buff your character and debuff your enemies. It sounds confusing at first, but effectively you're just stringing together a bunch of combat moves. First you give them the hook, then you give them a knee, quick jab, followed up with the uppercut into the ground slam. There's a really, really good flow here, and I want to impress on you that one of the things that surprises me the most about this is how incredible the animation work is. Honestly, just staring at your character as you fight feels amazing. Now, I played as a hobbit because I was told to by chat, and honestly, I wasn't sure what the animations were going to look like, but I was blown away by how clean and how good this character actually looks during general play. It's very easy to find yourself just getting mesmerized looking at your character moves, and it was impossible for me to hold back the fact that I was so excited about how cool some of the attacks looked. Especially some of the more ground slam abilities. My god, do they look amazing. But a class is more than just looks, so the answer is, what does it do? Well, the Brawler has two different specializations. First, you have the damage specialization, which is all about doing mostly single target damage. It has a couple area of effect attacks, but honestly, it is single target focused for the most part. Then it has a tanking specialization, which is used primarily, apparently according to SSG, for off-tanking. Now, you might ask the question that obviously is in the room, what do you mean two specializations? Every class has three. And that's where the Brawler starts to differ. The Brawler actually only has two specializations, with the third specialization being called the Fundament. You can't specialize as the Fundament, however, you can take abilities from the Fundament tree. Now, I did get the opportunity to ask some questions about this, and it wasn't entirely clear whether they were going to cost 2 points or 1 in the tree. They did cost 2 on the test server, but the Fundament gives generic abilities that are useful to both the DPS and the tank variation. Abilities like resource management effects, target management, and even abilities allow you to share the buffs that you get with your allies. One of the neat things is that whether you're playing as a tank or a DPS, as you use your combos, you start to build up these individual lines, these strengths as they're called. It's called inner strength. And each individual heavy attack has a special strength associated with it. So you have heavy attacks, balance attacks, and quick attacks, and the balance attacks, heavy attacks, and quick attacks give you this special buff whenever you use them. But given that the actual class itself has different buffs based on whether you're a tank or a DPS, the cool thing is you can decide which ones you actually want to share with your allies. The TPS gets to pick up damage, critical rating, and finesse, and the tank gets to pick up mitigations, parry chance, and threat generation. You probably don't want to share around the threat generation, but just the fact that you have the options and they even come from the same moves, so you can build up the same muscle memory, means that your character is able to effectively play two very different roles within the same simple moveset, which I think is very cool. There are very few abilities that are not shared between each of the different specializations, which means you get used to playing the Brawler and its mechanics really, really quickly. Another thing that I like about it is it also has a wide variety of group-based buffs. Several abilities that encourage your allies to fight on with you and charge recklessly into battle. And I'm not exaggerating, it's literally what the abilities say. You kind of pull out this call and almost like encourage people to charge in with you, getting attack speed buffs, damage buffs, and then of course the other buffs that you can share around with the inner strength. Immediately on getting into contact with it, I'm extremely excited for the Brawler, and I'm very much looking forward to getting the chance to play through it fully when it releases. However, I wanted to give you a bit of a sense as to what kind of fun I had with the Brawler. So I'm going to show off a couple clips here of some of my excitement when I first used some of the abilities and the attacks and kind of what my reactions were. So finesse, initiate strength, and revel in victory, which is giving me more metal back. Okay. I love these animations. They're so friggin' good, dude. Like, I walk up to this guy, you know, and I do the Helm Crusher. And it just dies. I can't even get there's nothing to look at, but we'll take a look at that in a minute. I'm almost here, so that's when I take a look at that anyway. But the attacks look phenomenal. The actual animations. So I'm a big fan of that. And this class is a DPS and a tank. So it's a DPS apparently primarily focusing on single target. Man, I love the backhand move. That's so good. Oh, apparently these guys actually have enough health to stand against me. And apparently they do enough damage. Cleanse. This is the cleanse. So when you have the attack speed buff, it's really nutty. Okay, so this character actually has a tremendous benefit from attacking quickly, because this is a fast character, which means it's only bound to the animations. It doesn't have a global cooldown. You know, like when you use skills, there's like you have to wait a certain amount of time before you can use another skill. This class doesn't have that, so there's no global cooldown in this. Figure it out as we go along. Now, while the Brawler did provide me with a lot of fun to be able to play, I want to talk about the things that I think that they could definitely improve about the Brawler. I mean, first of all, it's pretty obvious based on this preview that the Brawler is not done. There were a ton of abilities that were not functioning in any capacity, so if you do get the opportunity to log in and test some of the stuff on BullRoar and you find the same thing, just be aware there's a ton of abilities and effects that aren't functioning the way they probably should. However, putting bugs aside, there definitely are some things I think need to be addressed about this character to make sure it works really well. I love the idea of the fundament, allowing you to have like this tree that you can specialize in along with your regular class abilities. However, it seems very, very strange to both, number one, have abilities that are all the way at the bottom, which you actually can't reach because there's not enough points in the game to be able to do so, and also the fact that it costs 2 points just in general. I kind of wish it didn't. I would like to see a situation where it actually only costs 1 point, so it's almost like an extension of your own individual class tree. I don't think we're going to see that, but it basically, since the fundament is going to cost 2 points, it means you won't really be using the fundament at all until you're actually at the higher level where you have more points. Dovetailing off of trait tree issues, I have another issue with the actual blue and red trees, the tank and DPS lines, in that the tank and the DPS lines are both just have a lot of space. There's just a lot of missing space in the actual tank and DPS lines. There's a lot of abilities on this character, so there's tons of spaces to put abilities that tweak some of the different combat moves or change stuff up, but there's actually 2 entire columns side by side, one in the blue and one in the red, that have absolutely nothing in them. The blue tree is absolutely lacking for things, so I'm really hoping they fill it up with some more abilities. I'm going to be posting some on the forum. If you have some as well, make sure you post some ideas or just even, some of your concerns, because, yeah, I don't like the fact that there's a bunch of space. I feel like they should have those filled up, and you should want to feel incentivized, or at least not even incentivized, more so struggling with your decision as to what exactly you want to take out of the tree, because when you're not sure what you want to take, that's a good feeling. When you take everything and you realize there's nothing else to take, that is a bad feeling. So they need to add in more compelling options and add in more options just in general, so that way their tree looks more full and more exciting. Now, moving on to a more tank-specific problem that I had is the cooldown and resource management. I actually think the resource management is really good. It scales very heavily off of attack duration, and it makes you want to always keep your attack duration as low as possible so you can attack quickly. However, the cooldowns are a different story. This character has many different type of cooldown abilities. Honestly, maybe too many. A lot of actives that could probably either be passives or tacked onto other abilities, and so you end up with a bit of a bloat in terms of your cooldowns. However, this isn't entirely a bad thing, but there are some bad abilities in here. There are 2 abilities that give you a ton of damage reduction. However, they both have 5-minute cooldowns. One of the problems with having a 5-minute cooldown on a defensive ability is it removes a lot of that decision making. You might think to yourself that, oh, well, it's 5 minutes. You have to make a big decision as to when you want to use it. But that's not really what happens. What happens is every time you get faced with a decision where you should probably think about it, you ignore it because the idea of actually using one of these large abilities is really scary when you know you won't have it for a long time. Even if they decided to reduce the effect of some of these abilities, I think it would be better if the cooldowns didn't have a cooldown time of longer than 3 minutes, as 3 minutes is not so long that you'd be scared to use an ability, but it's short enough that you can reliably think that you'll get an ability back either in a boss fight or a raid boss fight pretty quickly, versus a 5-minute cooldown, which might not even come back depending on when you use it during the fight. And then, of course, another piece of criticism that I have, right away, you get a heavy attack boost when you're using the tank tree, so it makes it so when you use heavy attacks, your character gains bonus stats. Except you don't get heavy attacks until way later, so that should easily get changed. Something that I think is pretty obvious is that just move one of the heavy attacks either to an earlier level, or just make it so it's either balanced or quick attacks that scales up the first effect in the tank tree, because having it rely on heavy combo moves when you don't even get any until like your late 20s is just a little bit silly for the leveling process. Players shouldn't be given access to stuff that they literally can't even use. It's really counterintuitive. As far as the legendaries go, honestly, it's difficult for me to put my finger on what they could do with this in terms of some of the individual legendaries, because I'm gonna be honest, a lot of the skills didn't work. However, I do think that one of the issues is that they don't have enough. They have as many legendary legacies as Bjornings do, and Bjornings don't have enough. Bjornings are missing probably about 10 to match up with other classes, and so putting the Brawler at a lower rate is something I would not like to see. I would like to see Brawlers have more unique abilities in with some of their legacies, even if they might be more niche. And then finally, my last complaint with the Brawler is its sustain. Brawlers get a bunch of abilities, very, very short crowd control effects, some knock-ups, knockdowns, a bunch of cool moves, and they get a bunch of incoming healing from many different attacks. However, what they don't get is healing. That's right, Brawlers have absolutely no way to heal save for a single 5-minute cooldown that heals them for half of their maximum morale. This is exceedingly problematic because there's lots of scenarios where you want a tiny bit of sustain. Whether you're playing the game as a solo player, just running through the world, you bite off a little bit more than you can chew and you need to press a button to kind of save you in that bit of a pinch. Or you're genuinely trying to tank something for your group, and you like to do something other than watch your health go down. Every single character out there that plays a tank role has some type of heal, whether it's Champion's Dire Need and Bracing Attack, Captain's entire skill line, Guardian's Catch a Breath and Warrior's Heart, the Bjorning's Thickened Hide and Hearten, as well as Recuperate, and the entire Warden Shield line. Honestly, all of these classes have some type of heal that works with their characters, and while some may be better than others, it's always an option. With Brawler, they don't have any of those options. They should have something that is a heal. I don't know if it's something that should be linked into the combo system, but it should be baseline within the class, not something that needs to be augmented or changed with the legacy system. As somebody who is thinking about the future of legendary servers, and if we ever see one again, it would be very unfortunate if one of the most important key skills for Brawler, something that helps them with their survivability, is locked behind being level 51. If they wanted to have something that adds a baseline healing effect, let's just say one of the combos, they add another builder attack that adds a combo and maybe gives you a heal for a portion of the damage that you've dealt, and then they want to make that apply to something else with the legendary, that's all fine. I don't care about anything like that. I just want to make sure that the baseline effect will exist in the game so that people can capitalize on it if they want to. Overall, I think the Brawler is going to be a fantastic addition to Lord of the Rings Online, and I am absolutely guaranteeing you that I will be playing the Brawler a ton when it releases. I love the animations, I love playing melee, and honestly, this just really works for me. I've never really enjoyed monk characters. I don't like the idea of flipping around the world, just floating about, doing light punches, and disappearing like the wind. This character is all about just being big and strong, getting in people's faces and punching them with your fist. It's very, very satisfying, and the animations just really sell it for me. Not just the animations though, also the sound effects. Damn does it sound good. So while it will take some time to learn to play, I will be learning to play this class, as I'm very much looking forward to trying it out and playing it more as we get more previews. However, if you watch this video and maybe you're not as excited as me, just bear in mind this is an early preview. This is not the final preview. This is not the final thing the class is going to be. This is a very early preview, months ahead of schedule, so that way the Strimtom Games development staff can get good feedback to work on the class to help them make it better and as good as possible. So if you have had the opportunity, make sure you log in and check it out. And if that time has already passed by the time you're watching this video, get excited. I'm really looking forward to the Brawler, and I think it's going to be great. Now, I gotta say thank you to SSG for letting me live stream a day ahead of schedule so that we could get in and test up all this stuff, and to all the people who tuned in live during the live stream. And if you want to turn in live during the live stream, make sure you go to twitch.tv/Strimtom to ensure you are seeing all of the best Strimtom content, like streaming Lord of the Rings Online with new classes, or watching me die repeatedly in Tier 5 Remmer Chant. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. The next video after this one will be a follow-up about the legendary item system, so look forward to that. And if you need more content, again, check the back catalog, and we'll be back. Thank you and goodbye.